Narc. No one had the guts until now. And welcome to Nostalgia, a chronological exploration of every NES game released in North America. I'm Mike.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Joe.
And we have a weird one here today because this could be the next line in Nintendo's edutainment series, right? We had Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and now we have Narc.
Yeah,
Narc.
I mean, I would like to slot in just before Narc. I know they're not really part of it, but the Sesame Street games they're definitely spiritual prequels to Narc.
Yeah, definitely a lot of scared straight kind of stuff coming out of Sesame Street, and just showing what could happen if you don't learn your ABCs.
I was actually thinking Sesame Street is like what happens when the war on drugs is over, right? Like when it's successful and the operation, everybody gets to have a job well done, we can live in peace in a place like Sesame Street.
Yeah, I can see that. The menu.
The funny thing about Narc is that the actual arcade game even goes a little bit harder on the extreme violence and anti-drug messaging and everything. But we're playing the Nintendo game, and Narc is a side-scrolling action game, kind of like a run-and-gun game, like a Contra or Bad Dudes, games like that. But you are playing as not a police officer, because police officers don't run around the streets with AK-47s.
No, you're definitely a police officer.
You're a narcotics officer, right?
Yeah.
You're like a DEA agent.
Yeah, DEA agents, they get to walk around with Tommy guns, but regular
Right,
cops
yeah.
don't
I saw
get
Breaking
to do
Bad.
That. Yeah. So the core gameplay loop, as an officer of the law, involves you shooting as many
drug
people
dealers,
on drugs.
drug abusers.
Yeah. People
pimps,
on drugs,
streetwalkers, pervert clowns, meth creator scientists, anybody really.
dogs too.
Dogs, yeah.
Yeah, but you're not killing those dogs.
Yeah,
That's
what
the
do you
only
do?
thing.
You turn them upside down.
Either you turn them like small and then they run away.
You turn them into
right.
puppies,
Because
or
this game,
you blow them up.
Yeah, this game wants to be gentle with you. It's like, we're not going to let you watch a dog die, but we'll blow people up.
It is really crazy.
Sorry, excuse my language, but like the narc episode is the F-bomb episode for sure. So
it's so crazy. Like the content that's in this game, I just never expected. Even stuff like Golgo doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like this.
Yeah, this is like the definition of let's try to be edgy video game, where it's like, yeah, you shoot someone with a rocket launcher and their limbs and head go flying. Like, if you think of how many other games have done like very simplified sprite work because it takes so much work to make sprites, and then think of how much effort they put into making a bunch of body parts go flying. It's like that was a priority for them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a crossroads, right? There's a strong anti-drug messaging here, right? Of like, don't do drugs. Be the guys who take down the druggies, because the druggy people are going to corrupt society, and we're not going to corrupt society by killing them, but we're going to kill them in an ultra-violent way. Like, it seems like it'd be better if you were like tasked with just having like handcuffs as your weapon, and you had to arrest all these people.
No. Yeah, you can
Like
can
that,
bust
you
them.
You can do that.
I did bust as many as I could, just because I thought it would be. There's something kind of devious about that. Like, I'm kind of playing the game wrong, even though they allowed me to play this way. It's just like not how you're supposed to play Narc. You're supposed to destroy the degenerates, not put them into custody.
Busting makes you feel good.
Busting does make me feel good.
I think that they just didn't have time to implement the full morality system that they meant for this game. Because I think it should be like, yeah, you can get the good ending or the bad ending. There'd be a bad ending where you're just like a bullet crazy, like gunslinging guy killing everyone, and the good ending being like the pacifist run, where like
so you're saying Narc was going to be like
people.
Undertale?
Yeah, or like another
BioShock?
game that I can't think of the name. No, I don't even know why I'm using this as the example, because it's Dishonored.
Yes, a high chaos run.
Right.
I'm surprised. I just don't really know. I know that this is one of those games that, like, the old style arcade, like in the attract screen would have like an FBI logo or something of like, don't do drugs and stuff. I can't tell if this was a game that was 100% designed to be like an anti-drug thing, or if it's a little tongue-in-cheek. I really can't tell.
It is 100% all in on the anti-drug, and the only reason I really know that is because if you think they went hard with it in the game, the manual starts with, "Dear gamers, we at Acclaim are pleased to present Narc, the first video game for the NES with a strong anti-drug message. Narc takes gamers through the supreme, larger-than-life war on drugs with exciting, colorful characters such as Max Force. Max Force. He's the man whose name you want to say, so you'll say it like Max Force." Like,
is that a song that you just made up?
It's like a play on Goldfinger, which was a play on Max Power, which was a play on The Simpsons, which was something I set Joe up for before we started recording.
I'm glad you explained it, because I didn't even recognize that as what you were talking about before recording.
There you go.
Because I don't know The Simpsons.
You don't have to know The Simpsons. You just have to know that Max Force is the kind of name that, like, you automatically join the police force if your name is Max Force.
That's true.
Yeah, technically, that's what you can call any officer, and they'll all look. If you're just like, "Hey, Max Force," they all, like, turn their head.
The reason that I say that, though, is because the game that, the strongest, like, more modern game that I think of when I played this was Hotline Miami, for obvious reasons, I think. But with Hotline Miami, it's doing all that for effect. Like, it's kind of sleazy and stuff as a vibe and aesthetic, and it's not taking any kind of moral position about recreational drug use. But this is just that, and it's going just as hard as that, but I guess trying to send a message.
Yeah, Acclaim goes as far as to suggest, the CEO and chairman of Acclaim, Gregory Fishbach, goes as far as to say, "Playing Narc is one way to express a stand against drugs. The real test, however, is your actions. So spread the word that doing drugs is no longer cool, and join Acclaim, Max Force, and Just Say No International," which is a real, like, nonprofit organization, "in working to become the drug-free generation." So he doesn't have to be a part of the drug-free generation. Greg, like,
is there another page that goes into the same kind of detail about pornography and sex work?
No, that's fine. That stuff's fine.
Are you sure? Because the game also seems to, there's a whole level where your characters go and, like, bust up the Skid Row kind of area. the red 42nd Street in 1975.
Yeah, but it'll be fine once you get rid of the drugs. The strippers can stay, they just can't be on drugs.
I see.
See, I'm the more we're talking about this, the more I am convinced that the goal here was have all this very clear anti-drug messaging that, like, yeah, that's what you're going to notice when you're reading the back of the box or reading the manual when you're the parent buying the game. Is the parent going to play through to the sex worker level and know, like, wow, there's all this crazy shit? No, like, so it's like, yeah, okay, we're going to have a really violent, explosive game that kids are going to love, and we're going to, like, sneak it into the parents, into their, like, Christmas list by being like, look, it's an anti-drug game. What, are you going to play it to check? There's no internet. You can't look it up.
Yeah, it is the kind of game that teaches you more than you probably knew going into it, though, too. Like, and you have those anti-drug auditorium things in high school, and the principal's like, "We know about your pill parties," and all of a sudden everybody's like, "Pill parties? That sounds awesome! Like, let's have a pill party." Like, they're telling you about these things in a way that I don't think the average 10-year-old NES kid knew about strip clubs.
Or what an adult video was.
Right, exactly. Until or a killer clown, for that matter, right? Like, that's another problem with this game.
No, it wasn't just a killer clown, it was a pervert clown.
No, but there's an army of them, too. It's like, there is a boss, but then there's also, like, there's a bunch of them. And I think, like, this game also does kind of go in the absurd direction, especially towards the end of the game. it starts off as a rather like, oh, okay, yeah, we're just taking down like some local drug dealers and everything, to like, wait, killer clowns are involved in it. Are they from outer space? I guess not. And then it's like, the identity of the reveal of Mr. Big in general, the guy who's behind it all. His name's Mr. Big. The reveal of that, which I won't give away right now, is so insane that you actually have to ask yourself if you're playing the same game you were playing 4 minutes ago.
Because that's preceded by a level that is the complete opposite of like a red light district, and you're in like the more upscale area with a hotel called Le Snob, and the banks are all there, and it seems to be taking a much more like anti-capitalist view of things. I'm not really sure where they're coming from here. Or is it just that anyone with money is also profiting off of the drug trade? Is it that?
Yeah, when there's drugs on the streets, everybody loses. I think I just wrote Acclaim's next tagline.
When there's drugs on the streets, everybody's involved is, I think, closer.
Right. Everybody's an accomplice. You're all going to jail. All right, moving into the game, though, rather than just the themes. I guess this does tie back to the ultra-violent theme, but your weapon choices are not so much choices as they are just the same button, but when you press it, you fire a machine gun, and when you tap it, you fire a rocket launcher. It's like, those are some pretty extreme weapons, again, for just like some street combat as an officer of the law. The press and tap thing we can get into, because I think that plays into all the different control scheme things. But even just like your weapons in general in this game being a machine gun and a rocket launcher, pretty destructive.
This is chronologically, I think, the first game that I've seen gibs. Like, I think the first time I ever saw like gibbing in a game was probably Unreal Tournament in the early 2000s. I know that it existed in some form before that, but I did not know that an NES game in 1990 would show gross dismemberment in such a way.
What are gibs?
Oh, it's when you fire a rocket launcher, say in Narc, or if you fire a rocket launcher, say in Unreal Tournament, the enemy that you just fired at will burst into just a mess of flesh and blood.
Yeah, I will confirm then. I think this is the first I remember seeing also, because it was very surprising when you first see it.
And then going into the actual controls of it, though, like just to differentiate between the machine gun and the rocket launcher, it's the same button. So they work in this, press, a full press versus a tap. And, you can get into what is a half press.
I knew you were going to go there.
If you go into like Super Mario 64 lore, there's plenty of, debate on whether a half press is possible. But just we are actually really lucky that the NES, for a 2-button, 4-direction select and start controller, we're lucky that this thing can tell a difference between a press and a tap, because if it could only do a press, games would be even more limited than they are, and you would have problems, I guess, even with games that use it in one way or another, as like Super Mario Brothers, right? You'd have problems with like the amount that you jump and the force at which you jump. But still, because it's mapped to the same button, you have some other things too, where like the way you crouch and the way you jump is toggled to the same button. And that's kind of strange because it's not the directional pads. The directional pads move you around the entire screen because it's you can walk in all directions. So then to jump, you tap, and to crouch, you press. It's not as complicated as it sounds when you use it enough, but it is a little strange. Yeah, weird. That's a good way to put it.
I don't know why, and I know this is only a solution for one of them, one of the pairs of commands tied to these buttons, but I don't know why they didn't assign at least one of them to pressing A and B at the same time. I feel like that would have been like more useful maybe for the rocket launcher. Because I think having to press 2 buttons at once is kind of bad for a jump. But yeah, it kind of, you don't really have to jump that much.
Yeah,
until
that's true.
The very end. But so it's not too big of a concern. But if you ever need to use that rocket launcher, it becomes really, really silly trying to get that command out.
See, it wasn't the rocket launcher that bothered me so much. It was the jumping that bothered me, which, again, you didn't have to use too much. But because I agree that like the A and B would be good for the rocket launcher, but sadly the rocket launcher is the one that I felt like I needed that the least. Not the rocket launcher itself, but I felt like I needed a change to the rocket launcher controls less than I needed a change to the jump controls. Where I don't know, something about I guess it's because if I tap the A button or B button, whatever it is, to shoot the rocket launcher, and I accidentally tap for too long and it becomes a bullet, it's like, okay, I still shot a bullet. It's like not a big deal. If I tap the A button to jump and I crouch, that hurts.
Yeah.
And just thinking about how little jumping you have to do other than to avoid bullets that you would otherwise not be able to like walk away from. This game, while I said it's like a run and gun like a Contra, it behaves, at least in its scrolling matter, more like a beat 'em up. Granted, you're not doing any punching or kicking or anything like that, and the screen doesn't lock, but you don't have any kind of true verticality or shooting up, like enemies above you or below you. It's just you're mostly walking in a straight line that's even shown in the UI as like S for start and F for finish, and your character just kind of moving across that line. There's no like zigging and zagging. There's no like special doors or anything. So you're mostly just walking in a straight line like you would in a beat 'em up style game where you just have to kind of continue to take on enemies. Here, you kind of just have to crowd control.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying, that you don't move anywhere significant in the Z space, but just to be clear, there are a few tiles of Z space. So you can still go around enemies. Like it's
Correct,
not a complete like 2-dimensional line.
Yeah, that would actually be weird, right? If it was like Super Mario Brothers, right? Like Super Mario Brothers, but with a gun.
Yeah, because then the jump would get really annoying because you'd have to jump over things rather than walk around them, and then that would be a problem.
Yeah, and you would think that some of these places would have like potholes or something you have to jump over to do some kind of platforming, but no, they're pretty good foundation in all these places. So what do you think about the core gameplay loop, the waves of enemies, the locations change and the types of enemies change? So there is variety. There's both variety in what you're seeing, not necessarily in what you're doing, but It's a relatively short game, but a hard game, I think, because of the number of enemies that you deal with at any given time. What do you guys think about that?
I feel, but the first thing I noticed about this was, as far as the just the gameplay of the shooting, and maybe the music had something to do with this too, but the shooting and the action that's coming at you, it was one of the more fun combat controls. It felt good to use the machine gun. It felt powerful.
Yeah.
The rocket launcher, again, maybe it's the effect afterwards, but it does do a good job of making you feel like this unstoppable force that is even if you're doing poorly, it just feels like you're really going out there and you're kicking ass.
I think that there's sort of some duality here with all of this criticism that we've had for the controls, but I think just the idea of crouch walking while also shooting is part of it too, which I guess might be why it wasn't press both buttons at once to do any one of these things, because I didn't realize how just making that a fluid thing to do would contribute to the feeling of shooting in this game. It's cool.
Should you have had more police force style power ups, like a shield you could pick up and like a riot shield that you can hold for take a couple hits from?
It's too defensive. We need shotguns and napalm.
Yeah, where's the grenades?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wouldn't hurt. I mean, honestly, maybe this would take away with that immediate high octane experience they're going for, but they give you the machine gun and the rocket launcher right away, level 1 immediately. At least make the rocket launcher like a pickup, so you can so you can feel that progress.
I guess I guess I wasn't bothered by that just because it from the very start it's at full chaos mode. I think
right.
So I didn't really see much. There wasn't much ramping. I guess you're saying that you would like to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would like to see more what Mike was suggesting of add more things later. But then I'm just commenting, and like, it is weird that like everything you're going to have, you have at the beginning, even this like really high powerful weapon that normally we wouldn't see right away. I'm not saying I dislike that. It just, I think it did contribute to like, by the end, I was like, maybe not as excited about the gameplay as I would have been if, if they doled it out a little more evenly.
And there's an interesting points mechanic going on here where we did talk about the ability to arrest rather than shoot. You get more points for that too. And the way that they handle the points, at least at the end of each stage, is done in a, it's tied thematically with the actual game where you get like an evidence bonus screen where all the stuff you collected as evidence throughout the level counts as your points and stuff. So you'll see, like the cash and all that like pile up. And I think that that's a smart way to handle something that otherwise feels in most games just like a number that goes up. It feels like something to at least progress along. And sorry, I said cash, but that's clearly like drugs, right? Like cocaine.
It changes.
Okay,
I think it changes depending on the level. But I would say that, yes, I like that they contextualize the point system and did give you some kind of incentive to not just gun everybody down. But like, the fact is that it's way more fun to gun everybody down. So you don't really get anything for the points. So how much incentive was there really?
Yeah, I think that like we've all gone on record saying like that points don't really give us much incentive ever. So
unless you're going for a full pacifist run like you guys were saying.
Oh, right. Yeah. But like me specifically, I'm like, I would have also like, if you're gonna, I know I'm joking before about like the pacifist run thing, but I would like there to be some reward that contributes to the game in some way for like not killing someone and busting them instead. Or, I don't know what that would be, but like make it make some difference to my game rather than make a difference to that little number that's just ticking on the top of the screen that doesn't do anything other than give me bragging rights to all my friends that play Narc.
I really like that the implication, if you were to brag about that you got like a really high score in Narc, means that you weren't badass.
Yeah, right.
Well, the end of the game even takes you to the next level too of like, forget about all the points you collected. At the end of the game, you are told
to apply to the DEA.
Yeah, you've passed the training mission, and now you should go get a job with the DEA. Could you imagine? I think that's funny. No one probably did it back then, but to do it now, like just bring in your like completed save file or something, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" And you're like, I defeated Narc, and now I'm ready to take on the streets. And
I bet you someone did it back then.
I think it happens once a week.
It doesn't, because it's clear that it's not talking about like your character in the game. It says like, congratulations on completing our training simulation. Please contact your local DEA law, whatever. Like,
recruiter,
like it's telling you to like actually look up your local DEA and like contact them to, recruiter. That's what they say. So like I bet you a lot of kids thought like, oh my God, I'm going to be a DEA agent, and this is what they do all day. Exactly what I did in this game.
And then speaking of the end of the game, we have to talk about the crazy ending where it's revealed that Mr. Big is actually just Mr. Big Head, not like in Rocco's Modern
From Rocco.
Life, but no, he's just a big head, and what is he even on? Like, it's not even like
it was like a
Dr.
PCP.
Octopus. What is that?
Sorry.
Oh, he's on PCP.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No,
But,
that's
probably
good.
right.
What is he even on? And it's like everything. He's done them all. He runs Mr. Big International.
Like, all you have to do is imagine like a very large head on a Roomba. Whatever drugs he's on, whatever, that's up to you. But it's a Roomba zooming around on a head. After a couple hits, he turns into a skull, but he's still alive, and he's got a long snake-like neck. That's all you got to imagine. Yeah. I made that sound really simple, and the more I was explaining it, the more I was like, I guess it's a lot to imagine. But
it is a lot. There's also the fedora and the sunglasses to think about. But then suddenly, though, in terms of like the gameplay, like we're playing Castlevania, and now you have to get like precision hits where previously you were just kind of mowing everyone down, and you got to like jump over stuff, and you have to like aim for the. I guess it's all head, but I guess you have to aim for the top of the head now, and it completely changes the pace of the game.
It's not like really a boss fight. It's still just a regular stage, and like the boss is in it, but he doesn't have anything to do to you as long as you just stay a couple steps away from him.
Yeah, you have to keep your distance though, because he can just like theoretically run you over and continue and continue to run you over too. You get like stuck on him and take several hits.
Right. But if you just don't let that happen, which sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but it's really that simple. He's slower than you. Just stay away from him, shoot him. If he gets even halfway to you, just walk away and then keep shooting him, and you've won the game.
It sounds like you're talking about Mr. X from Resident Evil.
Maybe, honestly, I bet you. So I haven't played Resident Evil, but as I said, the just walk away part, I bet you it was a metaphor for what you're supposed to do when faced with drugs. Just walk away and you'll win.
No.
Let's end the episode right there.
You have to. Okay, we can, but since this is post-episode, you have to punish them. Punish the degenerates, Joe. Don't walk away.
But the game is telling you to walk away and then turn around and shoot them from a safe distance.
And then turn around and shoot. Yes, okay.
One thing we forgot to mention, because I just couldn't wait to talk about the end of the game. There's throughout the game, there's also what you would think is a police car, but it's actually the Narc mobile. That's what it's referred to as in the manual, the Narc mobile. And what kind of car is that? I think it says somewhere.
That is Lightning McQueen from Cars.
Okay, it's also
like a Ferrari or something.
Yeah, a Porsche 911 apparently, a Porsche 911 Turbo Carrera Narc mobile.
Wow.
According to the manual. So yeah, they got really specific with it. But yeah, you also ride that thing.
I forgot about, there's the driving portions that kind of suck. There's lots of like dumpsters that are stacked on top of each other that I guess tell you to get out of the car. It's weird. It's weird.
There's landmines.
Yeah.
But just for the vehicle, not like ever else when you're on foot. There's never landmines to watch out for.
Only landmines on the highway.
And then on the sequels and spin-off side here, believe it or not, Narc was like given a TV show.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if it's like
the same like guys with the motorcycle helmets as the main characters.
Yeah, it's the characters from Narc, so probably Max Force. It was in a TV show, Acclaim Masters, which must have been Acclaim's doing, obviously. And it had like, various other characters from that game, but Narc being like, they should have also been in that super celebrity animated Power Hour thing that was also anti-drug with Bugs Bunny and Winnie the Pooh and do you guys know what I'm talking about? Scooby-Doo was in it too.
I don't know.
The Ninja Turtles were in it. It was like a huge anti-drug thing with like hundreds of notable cartoon characters all like teaming up to take down drugs. Narc should have been there.
You're not thinking of We Are the World?
No, that was real people.
Oh, okay. I always confuse those with cartoon characters.
Yeah. I think I've heard Scooby-Doo in We Are the World.
Now, how about the real sequel and spinoff?
Yeah, the real sequel and spinoff is that in 2005, a reboot of Narc was released for PS2 and Xbox, and it did keep the anti-drug theme, and also it gave you the player. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it gave players the options to take drugs to gain temporary powers, which is like,
and then you can arrest people and then continue to beat them up in like a GTA style like open city. It's wild. I've never played it. I've seen video of it, but
what kind of powers do the drugs give you? Asking for a friend.
I don't have the specifics in front of me.
Probably like speed and power, stuff like that.
Should make you stronger. You should have been able to hallucinate though, and like see people as demons or something.
That would have been cool.
I will just say though that I think that alone is enough of a sell. Actually, like just that it keeps the anti-drug messaging, but this time you can also take the drugs is like, what a sell.
There's the morality system.
I'm sure it has one, to be honest.
It's still max force too, though. It's not like different people, so I guess he just changed his ways. Yeah, maybe he just like decided drugs.
Maybe
drugs
he changed
are cool.
his ways. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he changed his ways. You know what? We're not going to change our ways. We're going to do.
Wait, I've got 2 more things.
We're going to do Joe's 2 things. We're going to do Joe and Sean's things.
One thing. All right, he's a badass cop. Okay, I'll give him that. But his walk, I'm not so certain about like how much that contributes to his. I mean, he's definitely comfortable and like he has some style to his walk. But it's more like it's like a dance mixed with a mall walk. Did you guys notice this?
I think that anytime we play a game that has a somewhat like normal, we play a game that has sprites that have like somewhat normal proportions, the walk is always messed up.
Yeah, he's race walking though.
But that's exactly what it looks like. But it goes pretty well with. This is my second thing, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think some of the this is some top tier music.
Good, I'm glad you're bringing up the music.
Driving. Like intense action music. That's all.
The only thing is that the sound effects kind of like clash with the music.
Yeah, that's why I don't shoot.
And that's why you only arrest, right?
Yeah.
My thing was just I needed to talk about the I think the one level we didn't really touch upon is the grow house. Where you know there's each level's kind of drug themed, or I guess drug trade adjacent themed, and so one of them is called Skyhigh Nursery, and it's just where they grow and mass produce marijuana, and you can even collect marijuana plants and turn them in as evidence. But I just think it's really funny that like you walk into this place and it's got like peace signs everywhere and just the plant as an icon, and you've just got these like really militant hippies with machine guns. It's like, wow.
Yeah, like so just the way they're trying to characterize these hippies too. Like, oh, we're gonna mess up these dirty hippies right now. Like just like it's literally like they're just hippies with like peace symbols, and they're just you think it's like, oh, they're just stoners, and then they come out and they all got machine guns and everything. And
so
as a kid, you're like, oh, this must be what hippies are.
And now that we've covered Joe's important thoughts and Sean's most important thought, we can do the most important thing for the show, and that is the Essential Games List. Narc caught me by surprise. I feel like by now it has this reputation, but I didn't know about this game like that. I wasn't even sure, to Sean's point, like, was it going to be taking the anti-drug thing seriously or not? Still don't know if it actually did that. Like, it kind of aged in a way where it's funny again. But this is really just like a curiosity for those things. The actual gameplay, the weird controls of tap quickly to do this one thing and press to do this other thing really hurt the gameplay more than anything else about this game. And then I was comparing it to the run and gun games that we've had on the NES, but it's not that level. It is slower, and it's one of those, to do a classic Joe line, it's one of those, watch out for that bullet. Like, when you can see the bullets being shot, it's not high flying, it's not action packed. Body parts are exploding, sure, and you're able to arrest people, but it's not nearly as exciting as we describe on this episode. And I think that's what Narc is ultimately missing. If this was a faster paced Hotline Miami, to Sean's point earlier, style game where things were much more intense and situational and not just walk in a straight line, I feel like I might have enjoyed this game, but that would make this an entirely different game. We could go into different ways to improve the pacing or the weapon variety, or even just like hit detection in one way or another. But I really think controls was the takeaway for me, of just like, well, they got it wrong from the start, and that only hurt everything else afterwards. So for that, it's a no for me. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, the game itself is it's kind of hit and miss. I'm kind of hot and cold on it in terms of like the actual gameplay. Like I said, I think there's a lot of parts in that just feel kind of awesome. But like, yeah, just sort of like ducking and jumping and shooting and blowing people up, like that's pretty fun. The controls, once you get into any situation where it isn't just like mow down the enemies, kind of get annoying. So that it's nothing special when it comes to just like the base gameplay. But what I really like about this game is just how, like, this is, I think, the first game that we've played that the cultural context has changed. We've played a lot of games that haven't aged well in one way or another, and we have games that have aged well in one way or another. But I feel like this is the first one that just like it's almost you can't even tell what it was trying to do or whether it was being sincere. It's weird that this is like a game that we're playing that's kind of comedy now. Maybe it wasn't trying to be that. So I just really dig the vibes. Whatever they were going for, I don't really care, because now this is what this game is about to me. It's about being the worst cop imaginable in the worst city imaginable. And so I think I'm going to remember this game for a long time. But yeah, not an essential game.
Joe.
Yeah, I'll say that when you start this game at the beginning and in the first few levels even, this game is great fun. It really does. I think it's going to stick with me too. It's just that edge that it has to it, and like the kind of crazy action that you don't get in a lot of other games of this era makes it pretty fun. It is after a few levels, after playing for a little while, that I start to notice a lot of the problems that you guys mentioned in your votes, and they definitely weigh it down. I think this game needed more to be considered essential. But I don't know if we still do this anymore. It's been a long time, but I'd give it a play it, for sure. But definitely not essential.
You definly play it. Get that sleaze in there.
I was going to say, yeah, I think I'd say play it for nothing related to the gameplay. Play it to experience this wild ride and also to get a job at the DEA if anybody's looking.
Well,
like,
yeah.
This is the starting point.
It's the only thing you need on your resume.
Yeah.
If you can beat it, you have to have beaten it.
Yes, of course.
To work for the DEA.
Think about how many other jobs require 10 years of experience before you can get a job, and this one just requires you to beat a 19-minute video game according to the NES long play has it at 19 minutes and 8 seconds. I didn't beat it in 19 minutes and 8 seconds, but I do think that these long plays are always funny because, say I'm just looking at the next random NES long play that pops up, Metal Gear. That one is an hour and 22 minutes. Now, obviously, that one's a lot longer, too. I didn't beat that in an hour and 22 minutes. I didn't beat that game at all. But, like, that still feels like, there's a lot to this, right? That it took a perfect run of this game. It took them an hour and 22 minutes of NES time to do that. Here, 19 minutes of everything you need to see the entire game? That's a red flag.
There's a red flag. But still awesome flag. It's an awesomely red flag.
Oh, and hey, we had a lot of laughs on this episode, but I do want to talk about something serious, and that's doing drugs.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
Drugs. Oh, okay. I mean, whatever. It's my opinion. Don't do drugs, but to each their own.